Then another large hallmark of basic sanity is to not have emotional reactivity. So we want measurable, demonstrable ways to look at this. You're following your natural appetites. You're not buying a car because you're in your midlife crisis and you want to get a young boyfriend, you know. Lady CEO here. We'll flip the tables on the old picture. Right? You're not buying the red Ferrari, you know. I don't understand why people buy cars like they buy in Shanghai anyway. You're sitting in a parking lot all the time. Traffic is so bad. And I see, every day when I go out, I see Maseratis, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Porsche. It's unbelievable the different amount of cars that you see, exotic cars, Bentleys and Rolls. Now, Bentley and Rolls, I could see why you'd have that sitting in the traffic because, you know, it's like sitting in your living room. But sitting in a Maserati, sitting in a Ferrari, they're not comfortable, Ferraris and Lamborghinis. So why would you bother? It costs all this money. You can't drive it more than 20 miles an hour anyway. The streets are crap, and the laws prevent it. So what is it really saying about you? Maybe you wear the car, but probably the car is wearing you. You know, who knows? But see, these appetites, it applies to everything, shopping and so on. Right? So emotional reactivity. This is a huge hallmark of basic sanity and of self-possession. Non-reactivity. Non-reactivity. Until we can sense the reactivity, we won't have a way to judge. We will not have a way to judge how reactive we are. We have a term in the energy of mind technology that we discuss often called automatic emotional facilitation, AEF. In other words, when people go to see a psychologist or someone, maybe it's different nowadays, but in the old days when I was studying psychology, you had to be showing emotions pretty overtly for someone to say, you're having an emotion, you know, right? We can help you. But, you know, what I really see and what I saw as I was going through spiritual practices myself with the system I was studying in Tantra and so on, is that, and seeing patients in Ayurveda and for counseling in this energy of mind system, I really started to see that, well, most people are emoting all the time. Some low-level hum, you know, it's like, So if you go out in the street in Shanghai, that's what's there, like the whole time. And what is it? It's often, in a modern society, it's often anxiety, right? It's often a hum of fear in the form of anxiety. I'll be late for work, don't know how long I'll be able to make money for, don't know where, oh my God, I want to get married, have children, but I can't find anybody who's cool, or has enough money, or has enough basic sanity, whatever it is, you know. And there's anxiety. I don't know if my landlord's going to toss me out. I don't know if the communists are going to have another revolution and they're going to run for the hills. Oh my goodness, you know. So automatic emotional facilitation is usually part of everybody's day. This is because conditioned karmic thoughts that are constantly occurring in the mind are not disconnected from the energy of emotion. Right? This is what people need to understand, especially in Tantra. Body, speech, and mind, body, energy, and mind, body, emotion, and mind, doesn't mean that the body, the emotion, and the mind is separate. So leaving that aside for a second, if you are generating a thought, and that thought you're identified with, to whatever degree you are identified with that thought, you will generate emotion. Means you will release neuropeptides into your bloodstream to give you a physiological response that matches in energy the thought that you're having. We call that an emotion. Make sense? There is no tantric separation between thought and emotional energy. They aren't separate. They cannot be separated. In real tantric philosophy, whether it's Indian or Tibetan, they are one thing. The only thing we can notice is a spectrum of its expression's intensity, right? So automatic emotional facilitation, not much intensity in the expression, but always there. And then the avert emotion, you know, oh wow, that was emotional. You know, like I see a lot of people fighting in the streets in China. You know, there's huge arguments, right? And people gather around, they're screaming at each other. Saw one fisticuff the other week too. It was just crazy. But anyway, that's more than I've seen in other countries. So there's so much expression of this energy. That's overt, right? But there's a low-level hum, the AEF as well. Now, as we're going towards emotional clarity, towards basic sanity, we're not going to have these emotional reactions, right? They're founded upon a self-image. Emotional reactions are founded upon whatever you feel and believe and think about yourself. I don't mean whimsical notions, I mean deep notions you have about yourself and about the world. I said about yourself, but yourself includes the world. The world is innately a dangerous place where it's hard to survive, it's not supportive, not nourishing, it's a predator. People have that view, it's a predator. I have to carve out what's mine. The American generation now, right? Ask little kids what they want to be when they grow up. When I was a kid in the 60s and they asked you what you wanted to be when you grew up, you said fireman, policeman, doctor, president. Ask them now, the number one response is rich. It's become a state of being, rich, right? It's become the number one state of being for little kids in the States. So it's fundamentally different, isn't it? Change. So we have self-images. The old self-images were valorous and virtuous, and the new self-images are nothing but hedonistic and self-indulgent, basically. The ones that rank, that people really want, are just hedonistic and self-indulgent. So we want to look at that and see that our emotional reactivity, first, ranges from subtle, automatic emotional facilitation to overt, blasting. But it's usually always there. Why? As long as the mind is still generating thoughts out of karmic conditioning, you will be generating emotion. Now, knowing that, side note for health and longevity, generate good thoughts. Program yourself, read our daily prayer book, and you'll generate good thoughts because your mind will be reconditioned towards the Dharma and positive thinking. That is a good thing. The chemicals that get produced by the signal chemicals that work with the DNA and the epigenome will produce all the long life, happy, healthy stuff. But the more your mind is focused on problems and problem solving, and a difficulty with that, like some anxiety about it, or anger or frustration about it, you will be producing death chemicals, entropy chemicals. This is a biological genetic fact. So we can get this one down really clearly right now. The person with basic sanity who is not generating negative thoughts all day long will always be a person who will live out their allotted years, in a relative sense, more than a person who is generating negative thoughts. Negative thoughts are no longer the realm of psychology. They're the realm of biology. And I love that that's moving into biology, and spirituality is moving to biology, because that's where we need to go. To get modern people to get with the game of Dharma, it has to go into biology. They have to start to realize, wow, any negative thought, even one, starts a signal chemical chain to my epigenome that switches on the killer aspects of the genes. Yes. Proven, DNA study, proven, right? Wow, that's trippy. So we should be positive. Yes. So when jobs frustrate you, that's bad. Yes. When relationships frustrate you, that's bad. Yes. Everything that frustrates you, everything that gives you fear, sadness, grief, anger, any negative emotion should be dealt with in a way that can be transformed or abandoned so that you don't have this generation based on your capacity, transformed or abandoned, right? This is extremely important. It doesn't say that you live in a glass house somewhere, like fragile situation. You have to work on yourself. It doesn't say that you can't digest those situations that used to cause you fear, anger, sadness, grief, and so forth. But you have to handle the situation. So if you can't get out of the situation you're in, then you have to learn how to transform what used to make you angry, sad, fearful, grieving, whatever, into what makes you equanimous and joyous. That make sense? Everybody with me or no? Okay? So this is a really important aspect of basic sanity, emotional activity. So we know we're emoting all the time because we're having these thoughts. The other part is it's related to our self-image. It's about defending, protecting, let's see what I call it. We don't want to defend, protect, or build or create a self-image if you have basic sanity. So as you're going into basic sanity, you will not consciously defend, protect, build, or unconsciously defend, protect, and build a self-image which is out of alignment with your purpose in this life. See what I said? One that's out of alignment with your purpose in this life. And you will not reflexively be attached to it, even if it is in your purpose. In other words, you won't be self-indulgent with it, you won't be attached to it, you won't have expectations around it, you won't be proud of it in a sense of ownership or better than others, right? So this is a pretty important thing. So we have this capacity. In Tantra it said that all human beings have a self-image making machine. And just like your mind, it can't be switched off. In the same way that the emotions that are negative produce chaos and entropy and death for cells and you eventually, in the same way the self-image maker does the same thing. This ahankara, I am maker, in Sanskrit called ahankara. So as we progressively move along this dynamic process of basic sanity, we will progressively lessen the activity of this ahankara to produce a negative image, one that's not aligned with our purpose and one that is not dharmic. Because dharmic is not something that you have to learn, except initially. Dharmic is something that comes out naturally once you get all the other stuff out of the way, right? So here, our self-images, when they're conditioned in karmic, are based on protecting. So the self-image is trying to protect itself. That's where reactions come from, right? So it wants to defend itself, it wants to protect itself, and it also wants to build itself up. It wants to add more information, experiences that gives you a story. So we become like a story instead of who we really are. Instead of our center naturally unfolding along this journey of, who we are and what we're becoming in each present moment, we become a story, a script for a movie that we're writing every moment about ourselves. And then Brian went down to the corner and heroically bought a Gatorade and slugged it down. Well, everybody saw that he was sweating from his workout and he felt gratified that they knew he was a stud. So we're writing these kind of things about ourselves all the time as we do these daily activities. This would be to fill the self-image formation, with kind of an artifice, right? Contrived artifice. Yeah?
The shift that happens with the self-image from stage 5 into 6, 7, could you say a little bit about that? Because what I'm thinking is, up into 5, you're still holding on to a story of what you think your self-image will look like or what you're attaining. It's positive, which is great because it's like motivating you through your naughty, but then something has to shift to expand further than the ahankara level.
By high stage 5, you should be knowing you're naughty. That doesn't shift. Then you go 6, 7, oh, I am totally different. I thought I was a butcher and a candlestick maker, but actually, I want to be president of South Africa. What? No. That kind of thing doesn't happen. It's the attachment to it that goes, and what form it should come out in, and how it should express, and how long it should take, and how good you should be at it, and all the cuckoo-ness around it goes away. See what I mean? So when we have basic sanity, we still have the self-image making machine up until stage 7. But what are we doing in the Dharma practice? We're slowly, from stage 2 onwards, we're slowly reconditioning the mind so that the images it's feeding the self-image making machine are images of virtue. All positive virtues. It takes time. But by the time you get to 5, they should be all worked out. And your mind should only be generating positive virtues, loving all beings, benefit of all beings, how to bring out the best in all beings, in all situations, in every moment. By high 5, that has to be your, you hear what I'm saying? That has to be your mind. That isn't the flavor of your mind, that is your mind at high 5. You understand? And then when you go 6, 7, it just loses every little bit of reflexive self-indulgence. Even the self-reflection goes away. Your mind is just there as a positive benefit. You follow? You don't have to judge yourself anymore. Okay, so basic sanity at the high levels looks kind of like, wow, it's pretty big, pretty cool, right? But that's where we're going. We just go little step by step. So, self-image formation, right. So, yeah, basically there's no praise anymore, no blame anymore. You don't really care about fame or blame. You don't care about all that stuff. You're not defending, protecting, building, or creating your self-image. It's now naturally manifesting. The ahankara is naturally manifesting what? What you were born to do and be. The purpose. We call that the nadi, right? Okay, good. And when you're displaying your personality you're born with without karmic conditioning, we call that personality display. So a person in basic sanity is free to display their personality, right? Not to contrive and make one up. Not to make up a new mask, a new hairstyle, a new type of clothing, you know? It's fascinating how we do it over and over and over.